incredible game in 2000.
Yeah. Are we going to see that type of test match? That would be incredible.
Through the middle, Will Jordan goes all the way up. And here's Artie Savia, and the All Blacks are back in again.
Oh, they are absolutely punishing in the All Blacks.
Fraser McBride, reprised by the Wallabies. Tom Wright is in. Oh, what a finish we're in for. It's a turnover, and the All Blacks have retained the Bledisloe Cup.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. Well, the Bledisloe Cup has been retained by the All Blacks for the 22nd year, but it was bittersweet for their coach Scott Robertson. We'll talk about all of that and more. The performance of the weekend surely has to go to Los Pumas for beating the back-to-back world champion Springboks at home. Absolutely brilliant. Did anyone at home see that coming? I don't think they did. Welcome into the panel, Taylor Johnson. Good to have you back on the breakdown. Mills Muliaina and former Irish international Isaac Boss. Good to have you in, Bossy.
Nice to be in, nice to be in. Big weekend of rugby.
It was a big weekend of rugby, but last weekend was arguably bigger in Northland because you pulled the boots back on. So, Bossy, Classic All Blacks, I think it was your debut for the Classic All Blacks. You still got it.
Oh, yeah, we're probably, you see this little patch here, I almost pulled a hamstring, actually.
Okay, talk us through it.
Yeah,
talk us through it.
Coming through there, and you realise you don't quite have the gas when there's a younger, early 30s should still be playing, probably chasing you, so hand off to the speed Milner Scudder.
So that was a wonderful
rolling subs. I wasn't subbed afterwards. That's just rolling subs. So you keep coming, coming and going off the pitch.
What was the Classic All Black experience like for you?
Great experience. So obviously lucky enough, I was lucky enough to play age grade. So I do get to play in that New Zealand environment as well as the Irish environment. But all the good things about rugby: connecting with communities, connecting with each other, players you haven't played with before, and older players you haven't played with before. So it was really good.
So Bossy, how do we convince Millsy to play next year once he's had his hip operation?
No, that's probably one of the convincing. Mills, you've got to get that hip right, mate.
There's no way I'm putting my...
Come on, Millsy.
No way whatsoever. I can't do contact sport.
I'm sure the shoulders are still up for it anyway. There's some good shoulders out there still.
We'll put enough pressure on him, and by next year he'll be saying yes to the Classic All Black jersey. What sort of celebrations were going on? Were they a little bit like Bledisloe Cup celebrations in Sydney overnight?
I think there was boys were celebrating half-time just to get through the first half, I think. So, like I said, it was a great 3 days. I only got 1 day there, but yeah, I missed out a lot of the celebrating.
Well, here's what it's been like in Sydney, Taylor. Drinking out of the Bledisloe Cup, as we've learnt, 52 beers that fills up that cup.
Has Tom got more of the beer than what he did at 2.1? He's got to learn how to drink properly, man.
Oh, goodness. I mean, man, they deserve to, to drink out of that one because that was a tough one. They were made to work hard for it.
Yeah, heart-stopping performance if you're an All Blacks fan. Very nerve-wracking final 10 minutes, and it's been like that for a few test matches this year. Did you get everything you wanted out of that game? Were you entertained by that test match?
Yeah, I was entertained. I watched it with a big group of people. We were all had a barbecue, sat around, watched the game. Everyone was on the edge of their seat. And I speak for everyone, and I think all of New Zealand, when we thought this was going to be a sporting. We saw the opening 10 minutes, the 3 tries scored. We saw the errors. There was a comedy of errors from this Australian team, from the tackles to the drop balls to the passes. And I thought, we're in for a massive cricket score here. And then all of a sudden, Australia decided to come on back in. And it gave us an entertaining game. And, despite the All Blacks lull in that last 20 minutes, it kept us on the edge of our seats. We were entertained because we knew their form in that last 20 minutes, and we were all hoping, are they going to get there? Will they score a try? They didn't, and I think, that's what made everyone quite nervous, but albeit still entertaining. Yeah,
you just said we probably thought that the All Blacks were going to thwart the Wallabies. I mean, everyone on the panel last night picked a 13+ win for the All Blacks. Did we perhaps underestimate the Wallabies?
Well, I mean, the start probably, when they sort of got going, there's a lot of heat behind the fact, they've just been to South Africa, beaten by the best team in the world, and then to come there and start like that, but probably underestimated the rivalry. It was almost reminiscent of the game of the century, really, wasn't the way the Wallabies sort of came back. But there's instances there as well from the All Blacks inefficiency to actually close the game out too, when there was opportunity just after half-time. So I think that's probably the concerning part for the All Blacks. Relief that they won, and I suppose you celebrate now, but now we're into game mode once again for the All Blacks, and those opportunities that they missed out on, Bossy, I mean, they will be detailing that big time.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think, to be honest, it looked like two very teams that were struggling with confidence. It was entertaining, but it wasn't a high-class, confident display from both of them. Aussie were very, very poor at the start, and they gave us those tries. At the same time, I think the team that would have got the most confidence will be New Zealand, the way they held out at the end of the match. I know they didn't score points, but they were down 2 men, down 1 man. You can't expect them to score points.
Surely the Wallabies get a little bit of confidence out of that, knowing that they pushed the All Blacks within 1 score of winning.
Yeah, they do, but they miss so many tackles, they drop so many balls, they're not getting confidence out of that, you know. They almost got there when the All Blacks were under the pump, down to 13, down to 14. So they'll retain some, but I actually thought the Wallabies were going to get a victory against the All Blacks this year, and if they were going to, it was going to be in Australia. It's not going to be in New Zealand.
Yeah, but they still put themselves in that situation to be down to 13 men. And I think the ill discipline is one thing, but that's born of pressure. And that's because we were under pressure in those 20 minutes. And, you know, Anton Leonard-Brown was, you know, the sacrificial lamb for the repeated infringements. And Caleb Clark, you know, he was under pressure. So he put his hand out for that. And so that's what ended us, you know, up in the bin. So, yes, they did well to still hold on, being down to 13 men, but at the same time, should never have been in that position.
I mentioned it yesterday. I kind of disagree with Bossy. I think the Wallabies will take more out of that game in terms of the confidence, because you fix the start and you're away, and perhaps that's, you know, for them, perhaps it's a mental thing. They were too loose. They were, you know, they didn't want to get loose with the All Blacks, because you hand over sort of turnovers and they'll punish you, and that's what they did. The line speed was ineffective from the Wallabies, and I think when you break that down, you know, when Joe Schmidt breaks that down, it might be a bit of attitude. It might be the fact, hey, we've got to start well, compared to an All Black side that you're going, hey, in the middle of the game, what do you actually try and focus on? And there could be, you know, hundreds of things, and you've got to also remember, it's the same period of time that they haven't quite got right throughout this whole tournament. So sometimes when you roll into a game like this and you've won, you go, okay, well, what do we fix? And there might be 50 things on the table. What do you actually prioritise? And that's where I think the Wallabies are probably going to come in with a bit more confidence, because they know, hey, we fixed the start and we can take this team, you know, right through to you know, perhaps winning the game.
And that's exactly Joe Schmidt's attitude, won't it be? He is a world-class coach, and the Wallabies are very lucky to have him. Here is a little snippet of how he analysed the game post-match with Jeff and Marshy.
The danger is that we were going to overtaste the game, start throwing the ball, and you cannot play loose against the All Blacks, because they will hurt you. And we did play a little bit loose in that first 20 minutes, and as soon as they got those turnovers, even in the second half when they shot down the left-hand touch, and Lange Gleeson did a great job to cut D-Mac off, but those are the chances you cannot offer. We actually had them under a fair bit of pressure at that stage. I think Harry Wilson had gone through, tried to pop it up to Noah Lolesio, and suddenly the ABs are just so quick to change the point of attack and to counterpunch.
I think one thing that we all noticed last night was how analytical Joe Schmidt was as a coach. Bossy, you've played under him at Leinster and at Ireland. What is he actually like as a coach, and how did he get the best out of the players?
I think you're right. He is analytical, and he's often, I haven't seen him be wrong. He's got a very good knowledge of the game, a very good vision of the game. He can see the cause and effect of everything that happens. He knows where players are going to be. If you do your job, there's a certain amount of clarity in that for players. They know why they're doing a role and what's going to create next phase. And he mentioned there, he mentioned Gleeson. I'm surprised they didn't bring him on earlier. He did a try-saving tackle and turnover. He mentioned Harry Wilson. They had just started building momentum, and that offload, that was an intercept. So those are two massive momentum shifters, and he can just analyse that off the bat without any footage. You can see it.
I mean, he looks like a calm, collected. I've only had a little bit to do with him in my early years, but is he the type of guy that will hammer down, you know, those sort of moments to guys? Does he get loud? Is he aggressive? Does he not talk to you? Or what is it? Do you need to make him a cup of tea to get him inside?
Yeah, he has got a harsh demeanour as well.
Were you on his good side?
Yeah,
you made good cups of tea, good stuff.
Well, there is a thing around that a lot of times guys are on tenterhooks around around him. So he's a bit of a smiling assassin. And I have been at, I won't name the players, but he, subbed somebody in to do a line-out move, and then they stuffed it up, and then he's subs them straight back out. Oh. So literally, and it doesn't come on. So you got to know your role, you got to know it. So he gets guys, he does come down on players. So yeah, he's not all, smiling. Smiling assassin's probably a good one.
But you still can't see the Wallabies coming to Wellington and beating the All Blacks.
Look, I think he gives players clarity, he gives them knowledge, he can give them all that, but I just think he doesn't have the cattle at the moment. Now, the forwards, absolutely spectacular. I think they've got a great forward pack on the verge of world class, but they don't have the backs to match. And particularly, he's always had teams that have had very good 10s that can run games, and I think, I'm surprised he didn't change Lolosio earlier. You look at Callaway, you look at Wright, they were all very, very poor in defence, and it wasn't until some of the players come on that made a bit of an impact on the bench for them. Peach.
Well, let's talk about some of the cattle for the All Blacks then, and some of the new players in 2024. Taylor, a couple are standing out, Wallace Satiti and Cortez Ratima. Have they cemented their starting spots for the rest of the season for the All Blacks?
Oh, for me, Wallace definitely has. He is our 6 going forward. We tried with Samu Penifenau. He didn't offer us exactly what we wanted, but I think with Wallace, he's giving it to us on attack and defence. He came up with some key turnovers. His stats were crazy. 17 carries, just one behind Ardi, who had the most. 10 tackles, 2 clean breaks. He works hard on and off the ball. He's everywhere you need him to be, and he plays with confidence too. Like, this guy's in his debut season.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's actually crazy.
And I love to see it. And he's such a great kid too, off the field. And we call him a kid, but he's an All Black now. But he's so young, and I hope we get to see him develop.
I almost think he's 8. I think he'd be a very, very good 8 for the All Blacks at the moment. And I think, why not? You've got those other ones in there. You've got other options at 6 and 7. Kane's playing well, but he is leaving at the end of the year. Severe, he can afford to put him back to 7. Bring in Finau. I think he's an 8.
So you want Finau back in, and you want to move Wallace to 8 and Ardi to 7 and get rid of Sam Cane.
I'll get rid of him. It's a tough one, but it's just, he's made that decision in his career, and you are building. It's tough. He's a great leader, and he's obviously there for that, but yeah.
I'll bring Dalton back in. Like, I'm a stats person, you guys know that. Sam Cane, 4 carries, 5 tackles from your 7 over 65 minutes in the game. And then you look at the work rate of Ardi and Wallace. Like, for me, I'm putting Ardi.
So when he went off, they didn't score any points.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, as a 7, what's your number 1 job?
Well, I think he's the leader there at the moment, and that's whereas you've got to build that leadership around him.
Yeah,
so.
I think what will give Razor Robinson the confidence is that they've won, right? They've kept the cabinet and they kept the cup in the cabinet. I think he can sort of experiment. Well, not so much experiment, but give those guys an opportunity. I think Finau needs to come in. You need to breed him. Wallace wouldn't have got that, unless someone sort of, Blackadder sort of went down. You need to now start, breeding those guys to give them, some of that sort of experience in these test matches. Bring Finau back. Is it off the bench? Does he start? I think even moving Ardi around, I think moving into 7 and putting, and that will give Scott Robinson a bit of, I suppose, an opportunity to be able to, I suppose, not experiment, but give some experience to these younger guys coming through.
And it creates competition in the back row, which is, I think, is not a bad thing at the moment. A few experienced ones getting a bit of pressure on them brings the best out of the younger ones. That's how you get a bit of a reaction. Jacobson's there as well, but I think he falls more into that mould of unfortunately, might always be on that bench that can cover a number of positions.
The big thing we know about Razor is sentiments. He's done it to White Crockett. And we know this is Sammy's 100th game. I'm not sure whether he's available for end-of-year tour, but he's willing to make that call at Super Rugby League.
Hold on, you're saying so he didn't let Wyatt Crockett play the final, even though that was his final year of Super Rugby. He was the most capped Super Rugby player of all time, but he made the call that the team was better off having him as a support player that week.
100%. And so, but what I'll get back to is he made it in Super Rugby. This is Test match. Is he willing to make that? I'd love to see Sammy play his 100th game if he's not available at the end of the year. But I think there's also an element where the All Black, coaching staff have got to say, well, hey, when are we going to actually breed these guys? And is it Italy in the end of year tour? I don't think you're going to get as much, pressure as what you would against a Wallaby side that are hurting coming to Wellington, even though they've kept the cup in the cabinet. So
on Sam Cane, you think that the All Blacks need his leadership right now. What does good leadership look like within a team? Is it one person? Is it a group of people? And are we seeing it from the All Blacks at the moment?
I think it's a group of people. Like every team has a leadership group because different players relate to different people, and that's just how it is. Good leadership looks like Artie. You know, he leads every statistic there is. You know, tackles, carries, all that, defenders beaten even. You know, and then you look at someone like Scott Barrett too. He is a good leader. Like, you know, yes, he doesn't have all the razzle dazzle, but he had 28 rucks. That's a lot of rucks. You know, he's working hard off the ball, and that's what you want from your second rows and a leader.
But is leadership all about numbers and what they're doing on the field, or is it also about what they're saying to the team, what they're saying to the referees? What did good leadership look like when you're in this All Blacks team?
Leadership group, they've got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to be on the same page. No doubt working hard, and stats are through the roof, but you can't be doing that, one person going hard in their position, another person, and then coming together, and you're still, you know, separate. So we've got good leaders. You look at, you know, you got Scott, you got his brother, you got Artie, you got Anton, Cody Taylor, who's playing well. The key part is that they've got to come together and say, hey, we're not winning this moment. How do we get that moment back? This is the plan, and this is what we're going to do for the next 2 or 3 so minutes. I said it last night. I think, you know, when it bleeds, you got to try and win that next 5 or so minutes back. Whether it's, hey, there is an opportunity out wide when it's a turnover, but no, don't worry about that. We don't even want to see you trying to counter-attack in our own half. Bang it down the other end of the field. Our leaders are connected. Let's strangle them down there and then win that next moment, score points, and then we go start again. Rather than, I think at the moment, any opportunity that arises, we're kind of like, let's just take it. It's risk versus reward at that sort of time, and I think that's probably where there's a bit of a disconnect within the leaders. Don't doubt the fact they're trying really hard. Yeah. I question whether they're all on the same page because of the pressure that's coming from the outside.
You mentioned one of the leaders, and that is Jordie Barrett. We do not know if he's available for the All Blacks. He picked up a knee injury, has been seen in a knee brace. He's getting scans back in New Zealand, so we will know more tomorrow. It sounds medial, which isn't as serious as an ACL, which would be a full knee. So it sounds like he could miss about a month of rugby, which would technically only be the match in Wellington. But they also could bring someone in as cover. You've been watching the NPC and FPC. Who would be the next 12 up? Who would you bring into camp as injury cover for Jordie Barrett?
Well, you look at someone like Quinn Tupai, but he's been playing on the wing for Waikato just coming back. So it's kind of like, you know, this is what's happening. Who is standing out at that NPC level? And I'm not sure there is an individual that's standing out at that 12 position.
I'm actually stumped. You know, I've done so many NPC games this year, and then for me, there's no one that's put my hand up that I could see them going into the All Blacks.
The thing for me is they've got enough cover there.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy
so you
Proctor,
don't bring someone in.
Well, Billy Proctor, I think he gets an opportunity. I know it's at centre, but you move, he might come off the bench or start at centre with Anton Brown moving at second 5. There's enough there. Harry Plummer played his first game. He can cover 10 and 12 as well if need to.
Touch the ball.
Oh, he didn't. Yeah, exactly. So there is enough there, and it's probably a perfect opportunity to again bring some of those young guys in and expose them to this sort of pressure.
OK, Millsy, well, your moments have been one of the best things on the breakdown in the last few years, so guess what? We're bringing it back. What have you got for Millsy's moments today? What stood out for you about Bledisloe 1?
Kirsty, there's some great moments over the weekend, but the first thing, and I mentioned it before, we perhaps underestimated the rivalry. That wasn't the case. If we look at the crowd in Sydney on an afternoon game, just under 70,000. Look at that Kiwi support. I mean, I think did he have silver ferns on his eyeballs there? Singing his heart out there, Taylor. But
are you guys surprised by the crowd? The Kiwi chants coming out of Australia?
I'm not surprised, because look at the form of the Wallabies. Look at where rugby is in Australia at the moment. They're losing fans, whereas New Zealanders, you know, they love a touch of home. They love when the All Blacks come over. It reminds them of being back home. So I'm not surprised, but I do think Australia need to do more to get some of their fans in that stadium and cheering on their team.
Yeah, and it's probably the heartland of Aussie rugby is that eastern suburbs of Sydney, and the Roosters were playing last night at the Allianz. So that's not really at the home of Australian rugby. That was out at the Acor, so they're not going to travel out there.
The only downside is a lot of Kiwis moving out of New Zealand to go to Aussie. That's the only downfall, seeing so many Kiwis. My next moment is on the field. Now I want to take this moment because Will Jordan, you know, a lot of times you think, OK, well, hey, he's, you know, you're going to get smashed here. We absolutely got buried. But have a look where he is. He's the one that gives the ball over. Clark breaks the line, and I don't know how he ended up sort of getting in support play. He almost became the person that scored that try. So his work rate off the ball, but after getting an absolute hiding off that sort of high ball, Bossy, for me, that's impressive.
That is impressive. What's even more, but is it impressive because he's the only one doing it? You know, that's a standard. Well, you'd do that every time back in the day, wouldn't you, Mills?
Well, I would, but I'm just illustrating it now.
But it just shows, though, what it, you know,
Next
like you
week
said.
will be his highlights.
That's the way I ran.
Only, you know, and he didn't get the ball to score the try, but he could have. If there was one more defender, he would have got it.
That's why he had it as a moment, Bossy, because he knew you were going to bring up
That's good stuff, mate. They're right on cue as well. My next moment is, obviously, lots was talked about that try that was disallowed. But, man, the All Blacks, if they can get it right, this is the stuff that Joe Smith was talking about. Don't give them opportunities. Like the 4 guys in front of Damian McKenzie. They run it out from their own 22. Will Jordan-Taylor gets into support. And how about the work of Cody Taylor and Ratama, who was so good?
Oh, Cortez Ratema has been such a standout. Like, he only got around 50 minutes, but he was stellar. But you're right, like Damian McKenzie, he's copping a lot of flack for his performance. We all know that, but you cannot deny that he is exciting. He can break the line. But is that what we need in the 10? I'm not sure. But the way that they scored that, the support play, and Cody Taylor, I love it when a hooker is going 100 down the wing, like, you know, Dane Coles used to do. And that is the new mould. If you're a hooker and you're not running down the wing, what are you doing?
Yeah, great support line too. You would do the same, eh, as a halfback?
I know, but he had to do a lot more than a lot of noise. He still had to break tackles. And Cortez Ratami's come a long way, you know, battling out that position in the Chiefs for 9, and he's taking his chances.
Just before we move on to your next moment, Damian McKenzie, you said you're not sure if he's an international 10. What do you do then at 10 for the All Blacks?
For me, he isn't a 10. He is one of the best players in the team. He is electrifying. Every time he touches the ball, I don't know what he's going to do, nor the defenders. You know, he's electric. But I don't think we need that in our 10. We need someone steady. We need someone to unleash the players that we have on our outsides. And so for me, Bowden has to be there. I think the experiment is over. We know that Damian McKenzie is a great player, but he's not fit for our backline. I don't think we're unleashing the backs that we do have with him there. I know, here I am, stats, here we go again, but 58 carries for a first 5. The other first 5s in the competition, Andre Pollard, 14 carries. Then Albonos from the Pumas, 29. All the same amount of games. Like, that says something. We've got a running 10. He's a great runner, but he isn't the 10 that we need, I don't think.
Yeah.
The All Blacks have showed faith in him, though, Mills, because he's had 8 test starts this year. So they're confident in him, otherwise they wouldn't keep putting him there.
No, yeah, but again, I mean, I'll go back to my point earlier on. I think it's the fact that, hey, you might be able to move him back, you know. Do you move him back or come off the bench? He's played a lot of test matches under, you know, extreme pressure. Could be an opportunity to be able to sort of, you know, rest him a bit and sort of rethink about things before the end of your tour. But before even that, there's a lot of hard work that needs to go up front. And one person in particular for my next moment is James Slipper, because what a moment. The most cap Wallaby taking over George Gregan. I mean, look at that, to be capped like that in a position.
Yeah, 140 tests as a front rower, Mills.
Imagine how many scrums, scrum trainings. Imagine how many times you had to lift every single guy that sort of came in, and the locks got heavier and heavier as the years went on. 2010 he started.
How hard is it?
Congratulations to him.
Oh, yeah, most props that age are breaking down, and, you know, they've got all the old rugby injuries. What's he going to be like another 10 years? But he played superbly, and again, the leadership stuff as well. He's doing his role off the bench, come on, made a difference, and well, that's what you love to see, little milestones happen, you know. So, and he's earned every minute of it.
I tell you what, when his body's feeling a little bit broken, he's got a red wine from New Zealand to help him feel a bit better.
I think they gave him a bottle of red wine. They should have given him a barrel. Come on, man. Who's on gifting committee, man? They spend some money and give the man the whole barrel of red wine from Hawke's Bay.
That's what it would have taken to fill up the Bledisloe Cup.
Exactly, and that's great segue into my next point, because you know what? The last part, and how satisfying is this for the team and for all New Zealanders as well, that we keep this bad boy in the cabinet, and to see Scott Barrett lift it once again,
that's
so
a
good.
Beautiful trophy, isn't it?
Oh.
It is a beautiful trophy.
Yeah, and even talking about it the last few days, it's got me thirsty. I didn't have a sip of anything this weekend, but it just makes you think, far out. Steinlager did taste pretty good out of that one.
Oh, lovely, Mills, this moment. It's good to have them back as well. We'll be doing that every week, much to your relief, Mills, just like last night. Well, the major problem with the All Blacks at the moment, we all know it, and that is their finishing woe. So what is happening? Let's look at the stats, Taylor, since you love a stat. The All Blacks have not scored a single point in the 60-minute mark onwards of a test match. So the final 20 minutes in 5 straight tests of the Rugby Championship. What is happening?
I don't think there's one right answer as to what the issue is. It's not pretty reading, is it? I mean, you can quickly blame the bench, but it can't be just them. I think it's the game plan, but the one thing I do want to point out is I think it's our lack of physicality draining the teams earlier on in the match. You think about it, we don't have those big barnstorming runners. We have, you know, a couple, but we don't have a pack like England and like South Africa. I looked at the gain line success of the All Blacks just in that one game. They only crossed the gain line 53% of the time. 65 times they carried and were stopped in their tracks. They went backwards. You compare that to Australia, 63% of the time they crossed the grain line. So for every carry, Australia were getting 4 metres. We were only getting 2. That says something. So they're beating us up front in that collision area. I think that's why, is that we're not tiring teams out. They still have energy in that last 20 minutes to give it to us. And I do think that physical battle is part of it. People aren't as exhausted as they usually are. You know, Mills, you'd come up against a team, you'd beat them up straight away. You know, people feared playing the All Blacks because they knew it was going to be physical. You braced for it. You're almost playing defensive rugby straight away. You're playing your survival rugby. You're trying to just stay afloat. But at the moment, we're not, you know, giving it to them. Yes, we scored 3 tries in that first 10 minutes, but it just wasn't a physical battle to get there.
Yeah, those first probably 3, I mean, the Wallabies were pretty passive as well. And the concerning part and the red flag for me is the fact that we haven't scored any tries in that last sort of, you know, 60 to 80 minutes, and we've conceded 50. And also the fact is there could be so many contributors, Bossy. Yeah. What are they? And I think that's the thing. You can put 100 things on the table and say, hey, it's the bench, it's this. Perhaps the message at half-time isn't quite as clear when you're into a comfortable lead. What do we need to put the foot on the throat? What are those priorities leading into Wellington to go, okay, because it's something that's happened for the last probably 3 or so games, well, the whole championship, right? And the issue you've got is, if there's so many things on the table that you've got to try and fix, what do you prioritise? I get the point, you know, the fact that, you know, we've got to beat players up, but you've got to be smart about it too. It's almost like a simulation run at the moment for them. And I feel with the pressure that's on them, they're not sort of seeing the opportunity to win that physical battle.
And I think it's, again, back to what I mentioned earlier, I think it's back down to confidence. They're not going in there thinking, you know, where they're scoring, they're just looking for points every time. But now, because everyone else is talking about it, they're getting late in the game, they'll be like, oh, they're talking about the last 20 again. So it's almost like, but a confident team, they can put that out. And when they get under pressure, it's perceived. Like even in the second half, they chose to kick for the posts, and I haven't seen an option like that where they might have gone for the try. They got it then, but then they put themselves under pressure. Silly yellow cards, silly everything. So that's the aspect. A really confident team can soak that up and then go again, where at the moment they're just containing it. So the weekend, I think, was a little bit of an anomaly because they were down to 13, down to 14, so they did well to hold on for that last 20 rather than to score points. But yeah, the 50 over the other matches, and that is concerning.
You've mentioned a couple of weeks, Mills, that it seems clunky. Do you think that could be a case of this is a completely new team, not just new coaches, but new physios, new managers, new mental skills coach for the first time in 16 years that it hasn't followed the succession plan? So how long would it usually take to actually transfer things over? This is so new. This isn't like we've had for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and we're not the team that we were, you know. We've got to give them an opportunity to try and grow that. The great thing is, okay, if you look at it, we've kept that cup. Yeah, we had an opportunity to, you know, we could have, you know, there's an opportunity to beat the best team in the world. They're at their peak right now. And they're so good, South Africa, even though they lost against the Argentina, but they still had 10 changes, you know. We've got to, and I get back to the point earlier in the year, we've got to be a little bit more patient, you know. We're not gonna start being where we were for the next 18 or so months. The India tour, that's going to give us some big lessons, hopefully not too big of lessons in terms of the result, but I think he's starting to grow, you know, in different positions. He's starting to breed the new guys. The leadership group will come together. You're talking about different voices in the environment. When they click, it's not far away, but it still is. And once they do, I think we're away.
Taylor, I was with a couple of people in the rugby community today, and they, like Bossy, with the players not having confidence, didn't have complete confidence in this All Blacks team to just go out and beat any team on their day. How much confidence do you have heading into the end of your tour with this team?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it depends on who's in that squad. Obviously, we usually bring in some bolters, and it'll be interesting to see who does get in there. But yeah, I don't have full confidence into that team, you know, and years of old, sometimes I wouldn't even get up to watch a 2 a.m. match because I'd just watch the replay because it would have been a try-scoring fiesta. We would have pumped everyone. But I will watch every one of those games at 1 a.m., whatever time they're at, to see who is going to win, because I don't know if the All Blacks will win. I don't have that confidence.
It makes things interesting.
It does. It is interesting.
But you want them to win in 4 years' time, really, don't you? That's the thing.
That's never been the expectation for All Black fans.
I know, but you got to realise
maybe different for Ireland, Bossy.
Well,
and they haven't won a World Cup.
Now, I know, yeah, they haven't got past the quarters.
Not bring up that quarter-final again.
But listen, there's no continuity. There's no continuity in leadership from only not long ago. There's no continuity in coaching. We've had a massive drain in both those areas. So, look, that end-of-year tour, I think, for players can't come quick enough. And you know yourself, Mills, what you learn about as a team, as a group, and just cocooned up in that type of environment in that tour, it's what that team needs now. And you know, any changes like that significant, it'll take a year to 18 months. Yeah. We're not there because we don't deserve to be there, and I don't think we have the talent or the experience. It'll come.
A few months away, you must get sick of some players when you're on the road for a couple of months at a time.
Those lower numbers and the ability to be able to make their beds. I'm a quite tight dude, mate. I make my bed and make sure I'm in bed really early at 8:30 and TV's off.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of tour tales, but we will leave those on the road. There are tales of 2000, though, the greatest Bledisloe Cup series. We've got that program coming to you live on Thursday at 7:30. Here's a wee sneak peek.
Mertens has control of this. Eremia.
Now, it just goes crazy from here.
Away by Umaga, they're shifting it smartly. Now Lomu's in the clear.
See there? Wow. I'm out in the wing. What are you doing? Give it, Jonah, give it. No. And then he puts it over my head. But I think that's one of the highlights of my career because I'm literally keeping up with Jonah. He's going sideways, dude.
So that's 3 minutes into the game, 2 tries.
2 tries.
Not very often I'm speechless.
No, very rarely he was speechless. But hang on, there's more.
How about that? Round 5 of the Rugby Championship, and the competition is still alive between these two, South Africa and Argentina. Do Los Pumas get enough respect from the rugby world, Taylor?
Oh, they certainly will now. I mean, you look at who they've picked off. You know, France, the All Blacks, now South Africa. I mean, throw some respect on their name at the moment, because Felipe Contepomi has come in to this environment, and I love watching Argentine rugby at the moment. They play so freely, and they play like they're enjoying it. I'm loving it.
How far have they come since Rugby World Cup last year with Felipe taking over as head coach? They were semi-finalists last year. Are they even better now under him?
I think they're doing very, very well. And you look, they've had no major competition. They're not in Super Rugby anymore. Where are these guys playing and that sort of stuff? But they're pulling new players out. Carrera's been brilliant. And also Albinos at 10. Like, he's outstanding.
Where are they playing? Kirsty and I were talking about this off air. They're playing in the top 14. You know, some of those guys who play for Stade Toulousain and Chocobaras, he was outstanding. And you're right, they don't have that local comp, but they're playing overseas just like the South Africans are, and they're coming back, and it's gelling.
One thing that South Africa will be mindful of now is they have a target on their back, right? Yeah. Just like the All Blacks did. We've spoken about we're not there like we used to be back in the days. Everyone will gun no matter what, even if you had 10 changes. You know, there was a quality side that they put out still, you know, the Springboks.
10 changes, though?
Yeah.
That disrespectful?
No, I don't think so. I think the expectation for them now is that, you know, everyone's hunting for them because they are number one. How much, you know, are they willing to sort of take on that expectation? The expectation now of the public that they need to go out and win, you know, every single game, regardless. They're 10 changes. I mean, those guys have still had plenty of experience and there was opportunity to win it. But that crowd and the Argentinian fans afterwards, how good.
So that win from Argentina means they have 3 wins in the Rugby Championship against the 3 teams. They have beaten the Wallabies, the All Blacks and the Springboks in the same calendar year, just the 3rd nation to do so. That is an amazing stat, isn't it? When you think about the big 3 in Southern Hemisphere rugby, and now Argentina can add their name to the list alongside England and Ireland. Can they win it this weekend? Can they win the Rugby Championship for the first time ever and do it against the world champions?
Well, if we talk about confidence, they're going to the world champions back turf and they've won in New Zealand. Why can't they do it over there? South Africa is traditionally where Argentina have performed very well.
Yeah. You'd be a brave man to be against the Springboks at home, man.
So are you? Is anyone?
Oh.
I'm not that brave. I'm not that brave. I do think South Africa, I think, you know, going back to, was it disrespectful for those 10 changes? I don't think disrespectful is the word, but I do think they took them a bit lighter coming up against them.
Well, you got Pollard coming in Estevez, you know what I mean? And LeBock should have kicked that.
Oh, I can't get over this. I mean, they're there. They win this weekend, and they could take it out. I mean, you would have thought any day that the Springboks would have tied this up already now and, you know, won the championship. But they've got an opportunity now to go there, and it is. Yeah. They often go under the radar, Argentina, and you know you've got to remember they've been to how many quarterfinals, semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup. But people still underestimate
them. They're playing in Nelspruit. Is that a hard place to go and play, Mills?
I've never played there. Any place in South Africa is a hard place. As soon as you land on the ground there, you know you're up for a huge match against the Springboks.
Tell you who always thrives, and that is Brodie Retallick. And he is this week's game changer, the larger-than-life character who changed the way locks play.
Game Changers is proudly brought to you by Bundaberg Ginger Beer.
Yeah, well, not very often do you get the combination of brutality and skill. That's what makes Brodie a little unique.
I love playing alongside Brodie. His skill level for a big man was phenomenal.
Here's Retallick again. Oh! Kidding me! What a player! Absolutely outstanding performance in every aspect of his job.
And from lock, I think he's changed the game.
If there's one thing I can think about Brodie Retallick is his physicality that he brings to the game. When he hits people at rucks, he brings something special to a team. It's that steal.
You've just got to enjoy the way that this man plays.
Here we go again. We've got another big man that can catch and pass and play like a back and do his core roles to a world-class level. It's a big advantage.
Here's Kieran Reid again.
Steve Hansen brought in a kind of a new way to play where he put Brodie in the middle of the field and said, you're a ball player, right? So he got good at that. He was able to catch, pass. So his skill level in that space was pretty remarkable for a lock.
That's unique in the game. There's not many people that can, you know, that you go through time and say, well, he could do it, he could do it. You know, you can count them on one hand probably. He's again another special player.
Pops it up. Brodie Retallick gets his first test try.
We both started our career in the All Blacks together, and he shot up to superstardom very quickly. From his days with the Chiefs straight into the All Blacks, fitted in like a glove, and then winning a World Player of the Year, and that just shows the class of the guy.
Brodie Retallick has just been named IRB Player of the Year. What a wonderful achievement.
Incredible, and he's such an integral part now of this All Blacks makeup and their game plan.
Yeah, for me, having Brodie, Sam Whitelock as well, in the scrum, I think the props will tell you as well that the amount of engine that they put through in the scrums, that's huge.
Brodie Retallick over the top, and that's a big penalty for the All Blacks.
Turnover ball in the breakdown, I've seen him do that plenty of times, run out wide, chase kicks and win them in the air.
And a chance down, here's a chance, Brodie Retallick!
A complete kind of player in that sense of, you know, ability to influence in different parts of the field, not just, you know, your core role in the scrum or line-out. Plenty of times where he would get up in front of his opposite and basically jump before them, right, and it's their ball. So that shows a little bit of how much analysis he's done on the opposition. You can't anticipate that unless you've spent hours, right, studying what they do.
Mbonambi throws. Retallick turns the ball over. McKenzie there. Flicks it to Retallick. Oh, this is a great try. Brodie Retallick.
How good is it to see Brodie Retallick striding out?
Oh, been turned over. Retallick, of course. Oh, Retallick. How did he do that?
He's pretty niggly to play against, but that's the type of people you want when you're playing, not to play against.
That's what Brodie was great at. Just a niggly guy for people to try and move. His clean out can hurt people, which is a key part of creating quick ball.
Having a guy like that in your second row that put fear in opposition, not just because they were tough, but because they were skillful as well, they're the type of people you love going into games with.
Well, to steal the words of one of our greatest ever, Richie McCaw, the skill level he had for a big man was just phenomenal. Taylor, as someone who's been there in the engine room, you've played in this tricky position. How hard is it to do the things he was doing when you're such a big, lanky frame?
I wish I was as lanky as him. He's uncompromising. He is relentless. I mean, you knew you were running into a brick wall when he was on defence, and the way he was able to get down, you know, the lower centre of gravity, the easier it is to jackal. That guy was up here and he was still getting in over that ball, and he was someone who always put his head in a dark place. He was always coming up with cuts and bruises. You know, his face took a bruising every single game because he gave 110%. And the skill set, we cannot deny the skill set of the big man. I mean, he literally is a game changer in that position. If you want to mould yourself to be a good lock, you look at someone like him.
Often you have locks where one would be the enforcer, the other would be your line-out option, and you wouldn't sort of, you know, the different roles. He was the complete. You know, he's absolute game changer because he brought the athleticism, he brought the mongrel, the hardness, like to even get yourself to get over the ball, but also hurt people when you're getting that low to clean rucks and be niggly like he was, but still have the athleticism to get out wide, Bossy. Yeah. Outstanding.
And quite often, all those highlights, you see him going at the enforcer in the other team. He's wisely picking their leader, their big man. He's setting the example for everyone else, you know, which is inspirational in effect. But he's also a very intelligent and analytical player that, like you said, the line-out caller, but across the game, and that's what people probably don't realise.
I loved the niggle that he brought. Every time there was a scrap on the field, Brodie Retallick, when he would either step up to it or he was running away from that ruck because he had done something in there, he always brought the niggle. He always brought it to the other team. And you're right, he didn't pick on the smallest guy in the other team. He picked on their enforcer. And I think we missed that on the field. We missed that kind of guy who was going to, you know, rack up that other side.
He's bringing him back from Japan, eh?
He's got to find
bring him back.
Bring back Brodie.
Little guys over there constantly.
He's absolutely brilliant, and that is why he is our Bundaberg Gingerbread game changer this week. Do not go anywhere. There is still plenty more to come on the breakdown. We look at the Black Ferns' date with Ireland in the WXV, and what changes would these three make to the All Blacks ahead of Bledisloe 2?
We're in the beautiful Bay of Plenty, Tauranga Boys College. This is day 5 of the tournament. We started on Monday. This is finals day, under 15 boys. 16-team competition, teams from all over the country. The tournament started in 1979. They wanted to develop under 15 boys in terms of their character, not only rugby, but building them as good humans. That's a real key part of the whole tournament.
This is a huge tournament for our school, One's College, and also all the boys that come here. It's basically a big stepping stone to first 15 grade, and so for them this is the chance where they really develop and show their skills against other boys.
This tournament's amazing because it's given a lot of opportunities for our boys, especially at a young age, you know, playing the best school in New Zealand. The prep, how important prep is, the recovery and nutritionists as well. So those are the big 3 things that we'll take from here.
This tournament is a prestigious tournament. I think my role as an assistant coach is to obviously teach these boys what it's like to be a professional rugby player. We've got a level of expectation that we need to set for ourselves, but if we can teach them early how to be professional, you know, when they get in that environment where they do become professionals, they already know what it's like.
It's like more of a life experience than a rugby experience this week. It's pretty tough. There's lots of challenges. There's quite a few tears in the team, you know, during the week and things. So that's probably the biggest bit, just kind of getting your head around like every day, fronting up.
Our focus for our boys has been on camaraderie, just working together as a team, not honing in on just one individual. It's been good to see for our boys that we've been really able to play as a team throughout this whole week, and it's just shown.
Christchurch Boys High School were actually in the final against TBC today.
For me personally, I'm really excited for this. Hope that I can play really well, and that more importantly that the boys will play well together and that we can get the dub.
With the home ground advantage, I think we're definitely going to feel the Modi out there today for our boys. It's going to be a spectacle of a game today.
It's pretty unreal because I played in this tournament last year and boys were pretty unfortunate last year to fall in the semis, so to come here and be the host and take the comp out is pretty big. I don't think much boys get this feeling, so yeah, it's a good feeling.
What about the coaches? Wepu, Masanga was in there, Vainakolo, Te Ahi Toma. How would Westlake boys fare with your old teammate on hand as coach?
Well, I don't know. He was a show pony out wide, so I don't know how he ended up becoming a coach.
So there'll be a few try celebrations for Westlake.
Try celebs. That's what they want to do in the training.
They'll still be digging their way to the try line. Hey, let's talk about Black Ferns, because a big match this weekend. For the next 3 weeks, they have WXV. So this is when they take on the best of the Northern Hemisphere. They start off with Ireland. Coverage starts at 2:30 p.m. on Monday, next Monday that is, and we'll have you covered. What is this about for the Black Ferns? What will they want to achieve for this? Because we're 12 months out from the World Cup now.
They haven't played a lot of rugby. And they even said that they were the first ones to admit that Alan Bunting, Ruahei Demant, they both said, we haven't played much rugby. That's probably their own doing with NZR pushing the Whareparma Cup later this year. Usually the Black Ferns are in there, so they're not battle-hardened. But if we're only losing to England, who play in the Six Nations, who have played, you know, so many tests this year, if we're only losing by 12, I'm OK with that. You know, they're doing good. So I think this is going to prove to us how far they've come. Look, they had a really hard test against England at Twickenham in front of a massive crowd. Going up against Ireland, I think they're wanting to play their best team. I don't think they'll rotate the squad. I think they'll play their best team to finally see them hit their straps and go into confidence, because then they're going to meet England again.
Ireland are 7th in the world, so it should be an easy victory for the Black Ferns. But if you look at it in terms of building blocks, that is 3 big games 3 weeks in a row, which would be like a quarter, a semi and a final, Mills.
Yeah, and considering the lack of sort of game that they have again before they lead it into the English game, they were impressive. So they had that week off. They've been in Germany. They've sort of regrouped as a side, but they should really. I mean, this is now. I mean, I was really surprised the way they lifted the intensity against the English. Yes, the English as well were coming. That's basically a pre-season rolling into that. But the lack of games, I think they go into this Irish game and they should be confident to come out with a victory.
Well, how did the All Blacks go into Bledisloe 2 in Wellington? That is 6 p.m. This coming Saturday, Bossy. Who would you like to see given a crack? Ruben Love is the only player not to have made his debut that's been part of that squad. Would you like to see him play? What about Harry Plummer or Billy Proctor maybe?
Yeah, potentially Billy Proctor. I think he's earned a chance in there. Plummer didn't fill with a lot of confidence, not giving him more time off the bench, I thought, but I would like to see Satiti at 8 and Xavier at 7 and try something in that back row.
And you'd start with Billy?
Yeah, I'd give him an opportunity. Well, it's tough. You know, we don't have a like-for-like 12, do we? If Barrett's out, so you know you're going to have a little bit of a reshuffle there, and it'll be interesting. But yeah.
I'll put Barrett at 6, I think. You know, I like your thinking around Wallace at 8 and Artie at 7, Barrett at 6, because Tuipulotu should be fit. You know, so that's the second row covered. I think to the backs, Billy Proctor at home, he's confident at that stadium. You know, let's give him that fairy tale test. I think that'll be great. I do think Bowden needs to be at 10, and we've already discussed that. I do think, you know, we've already got the Bledisloe locked away. Let's just try it.
Yeah, I'd like to see some changes. I think, you know, those young guys, Sami Pini-Finau, I think he comes into the fold somewhere, even if it's off the bench. Love, I think he's still injured, but I think it's a great opportunity for him to be able to move guys around. Xavier possibly at 7, and I'd start Billy. I wouldn't, you know, I'd start him at centre. You know, he's been against Fiji, but, you know, expose them to that sort of pressure of the Wallabies. They'll be hurting. The downside and the pressure for Scott Robinson, do you make wholesale changes? You know, do you want to keep that momentum going? But I definitely would love to see a few of those young guys get a shot.
I totally agree. We talk about a confidence in a team, and this is the confidence in the coaching staff now. Do they have the confidence to make changes, put the boys under pressure, more pressure? But this is where they've got to perform. So for the sake of the team, I think you need to. Do they have the confidence to as a coach?
So Sam Cane doesn't get his 100th farewell test in your team, Bossy?
Oh, look, it's a hard one because he 100% deserves it. It's down to those moments, you know. Is it for the player or for the good of the team at the moment? And it's just really, for me, it's almost crossing those boundaries, especially if he's going later in the year.
I think he does. I think you have a 6-2 split on the bench.
6-2 split, so you're trying things.
I think he does. I think he might not start, but even off the bench, I think you give him his his moment.
There you go.
He deserves it.
He does deserve it. Well, we can't wait for this weekend. Thank you both so much for joining us on the program. We appreciate it, and we will see you this weekend. Ka kite anō.
For this Bledisloe battle between the Wallabies and the All Blacks. McRae will go through. Rico Ioane untouched arms. Arnie. Tom Wright, he's over. Wants the post. He gets out over. And the Bledisloe Cup will stay in New Zealand for another year.